I'll be honest. Look, Stones, one of my all-time favorite bands because of the dueling guitars.
Likewise.
But to replace Brian Jones with Mick Taylor is the odds of that are zero. A guy as great as Mick Taylor, and then to replace Mick Taylor with Ron Wood, now you're really playing with house money. God's got a plan for these guys. But the one thing I noticed,
it is providential, I think is the word.
It's providence, my man. But the thing I noticed most, I was disappointed with the age of the internet, where you can find out terrible things about yourself, that when you thought you were terrific, you can just go online and people can tell you what a douchebag you are. That's really the sole purpose of this box right here.
It seems to be the sole purpose of my sisters. I don't even go as far as the internet.
When I actually
I digress.
When I opened up the lyrics on the Stones, with a few exceptions, it is June, gloom, doom. It is really just, it was very disappointing. Even like Sympathy for the Devil, it's not, there's nothing in there that, there's no like Rufus Wainwright, there's no like a real lyricist. Elvis Costello, I think, is a pretty neat lyricist.
Well, I get the impression that Elvis would retire to the atrium or whatever you call it, the attic with the slanted roof at the left bank, and you're going to labor over that, because if you tweak one word, you get a whole different meaning out of it.
Do you ever listen to your songs and say, wow, I had a whole other because you can listen to Tumbling Dice. There's another version of Tumbling Dice that just got re-released when they re-release things and they go through the vaults, and it's in A to Z. Every single lyric is different. But like you were saying earlier, just when you're an old bar blues band, that rhythm and blues, it's the same. And there's an entire different set of lyrics to Tumbling Dice. You strike me as a guy that you may have a different set of lyrics per situation, and you may have to choose one on the fly. Have you ever thought, I might have missed on that one? There's a lyric in my pocket.
Well, certainly.
Yeah?
Certainly. At the end of every great game, you go, okay, now I'm ready to play that game. At the end of every great movie play, at the end of every great chess game, you go, God damn it.
You walk off stage.
Now I'm ready to play this guy.
I think everyone is fascinated to hear you say that.
You follow no matter how
follow.
successful even you go, yeah, that third move, man, King's Knight A9. Knight A6 to E4. I fucking missed it. Yeah, but you won the title and the Buick and the dog food, and you own the island in Hawaii. Yeah, but I missed E6 to A5 Knight.
I could have won it by 2 more strokes.
I turned left and bumped my nose. You didn't see me do that. Nobody saw you do that. But I saw me do that. And that's what will urge you and compel you on to do again and again.
It seemed towards the end of Van Halen, it got combustible. I mean, you were no longer in the band, so I think that's a fair assumption. And then it seemed that, a gem can't be polished without friction, right? But it seems like when you became Diamond Dave in all his glory, Crazy from the Heat, and your solo albums and your videos, your long-form videos, seemed like it seems like that's the fun you had intended for the journey of Van Halen. And maybe did it get too serious? And then once you were released, to be yourself? Am I reading your life accurately, that when you were doing your first 2 solo albums, that seemed to be the most fun I'd ever seen you have?
The fun that was initially in Van Halen, and I was also guilty of this, becomes, it turns serious. Not so much sour, as you are constantly urged to take things more seriously, more corporately. This is a business. This is not just a lark. It's not just a hobby. And you'll hear musicians, artists in a variety of the fine arts, I'm sure, in acting and humor and authorship, writing, etc. You'll hear folks say, Jay, this is a business. It's not just a game. You got to take it like, you got to approach this like a business. Okay, the third time I hear the word in the same paragraph, we're hiding something.
Yeah.
There's an agenda here. It's diversionary. No, wait a minute. I think we're taking suppressive fire here.
Yeah, we're sucking from the corporate
Somebody's
cheat.
trying to keep us from looking over the edge.
Right. You're not going to like what you see. You're going to see a bunch of guys not that you don't know taking money and putting it in their pockets.
Yep, and if you are young and you're susceptible to it, as we all are when we're young, then if you're not careful, the idea of, okay, now we have to top ourselves in the last album. Okay, now we have to top ourselves in the last bottle of Jack that we drank. We have to drink it faster. Now we have to top ourselves in terms of the record sales, etc. Even if you are denying of it, and to the greater degree we were, it haunts you in that you're going to go to sleep going, you are denying others' wishes, and they are becoming angry and disagreeing with you and upset. Because not every Van Halen record was what do you call it, a diamond record or whatever.
Platinum,
First and last one sold 10 million before counterfeits. So you add in the counterfeits, it's probably 20, 30 million. That being said, we have that same kind of, Miles Davis called it a curse, to change, to try things. We would play songs like Dancing in the Street or Big Bad Bill. We would sell Ricky Ricardo Rumba, which is what Jamie's Crying is, to heavy metal crowds, and then we'd play Psycho Billy Thrash Swing, which is what Hot for Teacher is to pop group people who were looking for more Dance the Night Away, which was Spanish speaking. Whoa, we kept turning left-hand turns like a mosquito on people.
And little guitars with Spanish, too.
We would upset people because it was unexpected, or it was a left-hand turn, or now they're playing a keyboard, etc. And no matter how denying and defiant you are, and we were, those words will still racket around in your head and cause you to question and question. And it's the equivalent of, when you start off as a little kid, you got bunk beds. I don't know if you got a brother or a sister.
No, I had them anyway, just so I could,
you had a bunk bed. You play the game of hot lava, which means like you pretend you're on a cliff, and down in the middle between the bunk beds is hot lava, and you'll die if you fall in the middle. So you jump from one bed to the other, and you're screaming, hot lava, like this. And then, in a little while, you push the beds a little farther apart. And you scream, hot lava, and you try and jump across. Till finally, it's almost undoable. And then one day, you don't make it. And you get 18 stitches in your upper lip from hitting it on the frame. And the doctor says, what were you doing? And you don't really have an answer. I don't know. It was a game I invented. It's not really hot lava. I don't know why I did it, etc. And trying to top yourself.
We just thought we put 4 covers on Diver Down. It would be real funny. Like that was a huge risk for you guys.
Why would we do this?
You don't make any residuals. You don't make any, what do you ask at residuals?
Yes. Why would we try and take more and more production on the road? Why would we try to outdo the record sales each time? And woodshed for longer and longer. And the longer you spend in that woodshed, the more coffee you're going to need, the more nicotine you're going to need, because now you've convinced yourself to get across from one bunk bed to the other, and I'm crossing my poeticisms here.
No, I'm with you.
Then you have to stay up later, and you start putting in 18 hours in that studio, which means you need a little something to keep you awake.
Yeah.
And then when you get home after 3 days of that shit, you need a little something to put you to sleep. And then
you're not the best version of yourself. You're no longer the best version of you.
I get them confused. Is it Dr. Hyde or Mr. Jekyll? Which one's the bad guy?
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
But which one's the bad guy? Is it Mr. Hyde?
Yeah.
You turn Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
And then it's Mr. Hyde who sits down with 3 other Mr. Hydes. And keep in mind who showed up at the clubhouse in the first place, Jay. We are people, by and large, who couldn't follow any rules as kids. And now we're in charge of not only making the rules, but enforcing them.
The lunatics are running the asylum.
I say the bunk beds aren't far enough apart. I'd say you're getting scared of lava. Whoa! Who said that about
I'm not
you,
afraid.
son of a bitch? I'm not afraid.
I can hit that note.
I can play it faster.
We can lay an instrumental in the middle of 1984.
And next thing you know, everybody's falling down into the same
Lava.
upside down into the crevasse together because we put the beds. We convinced ourselves that the beds had to be so far apart that we were going to outdo, etc. And, the only thing that you could put on the gravestone instead of in celebration would be the last thing you heard us say, which would be, watch this.
Is it safe to say that you were having fun? You had fun in your solo stuff. It seems like you had the most fun. Is that safe? Not beginning Van Halen, because that's new. The greatest joy in life is to begin. But it seems like when you had your solo stuff up and running, that the corporate entity that was involved came to you and said, "Oh, that's the thing, Dave. You can put the bunk beds anywhere you want. You can put them anywhere. We don't care where you put them. We just want you. You can do covers. You can do Sinatra covers. You can do I Ain't Got Nobody. You can do a long form video. You can spend $5 million in prosthetic makeup and have a 14-minute video making fun of corporate, and that's what they let you do." That
as long as we were selling the records, yes.
Well, you sold a ton of records.
Yes.
You had ridiculous musicians on them.
I had about 5 more summers of platinum. When I left
singer
Van
was
Halen,
a fellow we all heard of at the time too.
We did real well with it, but you know what really compelled that spirit, and it was a blast. Is I don't know if I agree with Faulkner in that there's no second chances in American culture.
Anybody that's been divorced knows there's many second chances.
Okay, I think there may be.
I had a full dress rehearsal. I started over at 35.
Okay, bingo. Perhaps in the 20s or when Faulkner was around, it was a bit different of a culture or whatever. Nevertheless, and for all you new young artists or fine arts players out there, and this is whether you're going to be an architect or a dancer or a playwright, a novelist, anything that's with engineering, anything that's, drawing lines or anything in arts and arts bias, is that the initial years of starting something from scratch are always going to be the ones you treasure the most.
Yeah.
I remember reading in a book, Brassai, the photographer, who hung out with Henry Miller, the writer, back in the 20s in Paris, France. He said, Henry and I, and it's a bizarre number, lived in 90 places in the space of a year and a half because they never had any money. And they kept getting thrown out of little tiny hotels and rooming apartments and rental places. He says, but we always seem to come up with enough money for half a pack of cigarettes, some red wine, and some pretty girls. And he said, and you know what? When I ran into Henry X amount of decades later, we hadn't seen each other. He had won every award accolade that's possible to give to an author. He was a millionaire. He made the money. He said he had tears in his eyes, and all he wanted to talk about was the golden years, when we all had to sit on the same mattress side by side because there was no couch, and share one cigarette with those two girls
right.
and pass a bottle. And that being said, I got that chance again. All right. Now, here's a little addition, because sometimes people ask at the end of an encounter like this, Dave, do you have any thoughts, any recommendations, any advice for new young artists or whatever? And yes, I do. And it's pursuant to exactly what I just described. Always at any given time have a song that you're listening to over and over again. It can be brand new. It can be the latest Kesha single. It can be an old Stone song that you just rediscovered. Hey, Tumbling Dice. I've been listening to it for the last 2 weeks. I listened to it 38 times in the last 2 weeks. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's country. Maybe it's blues. But always at any given time have one song, and you'll get tired of it after 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever the case may be. But just drill it. Repetition over and over. Put it on repeat when you get into the shower so you hear it 18 times. You follow. Play it in the car over and over and over. When you're working, play it in the background over and over and over again. 20, 30, 40 summers from now, when you play that song again, you will feel physically just like you do right this very instant that I'm describing to you. And if you have one of those songs, now I've got dozens of them. You follow? Through my golden years, that's probably 85 different songs over that 7-year phase when Van Halen was in the clubs. And then our first few records, that's one set of 85 songs. You follow? Then there's the party years. That's another 82 different songs, whatever. And you can take